Hey everyone, what's going on? It's me, Heavy D. We are back with episode 2 for you with Between the Buns podcast. Episode 3 is going to be the great one. Episode 2 isn't so bad. We are joined by none other than Darren Yeats over here. I don't know what direction it is. This camera has been fucking up both of us. We'll be honest. We kept going back and forth. But we're here today. Darren's episode last week was all about his journey. Today, Darren is going to cook and roast me over an open fire to ask me some hard-hitting questions that he has. So without further ado, we got 30 minutes of Between the Buns action and fun. This is the hardest hitting competitive eating podcast known to the planets Earth, Mars, and Uranus. Let's go.
All right, let's do this. So just to set the stage here before we get started, just like last time, could you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
So I think now I'm on my 4th or 5th year with Major League Eating, and that would put me at year 6.5, 7 of like doing food challenges. So what is that, 2016? Wow, we are getting old here, kid. With that, I kind of got started like you did. Like we were both kind of always been big eaters in our life. And then kind of like we went from opposite ends of the spectrum. We went from total fat to total shredded to like we found out to try to do both. And one night I got really drunk in Seattle on like St. Patrick's Day with my friend. And we ordered a food challenge. And the rest has been, well, let's see what else we can do, right? Let's see what else we can do. So, I mean, dude, I don't know about you, but I actually do better when I'm like had a few drinks in my system for food challenges. I don't know why. Like, I don't know if I'm looser, but like the food challenges that I've done hungover have been some of the hardest because your body does not want to eat. However, the ones that I'm like had like 5 or 6 beers, I'm just like just going, like just no cares in the world.
I can only say I've done one food challenge, and you know which one I'm talking about because you're the one that set me up for that challenge. But I think it really depends. I don't think I could do a hardcore food challenge. No big fat fatties, Southside 6 euros, none of that. Off of 5, 6 beers, whatever. But a lighter challenge, maybe.
I mean, you crushed that grilled cheese one. So the challenge he's talking about is Swanky's out in Denver. It's at this interesting sports bar to say. It's a Wisconsin bar. All you gotta know, it's a Wisconsin bar in Denver. So it's goofy as fuck to begin with. 4 grilled cheese sandwiches with like 16 slices of cheese curds, and then no seasoning. Because I remember we both said that. There's like no salt on it. It's a very healthy food challenge. No salt on the fries or the tots. And this guy does it drunk in like what? I think it was like 3.5 minutes. Like you're just like, ooh, and they're like, what the fuck?
That was a good challenge for sure. It was one of those challenges that you legitimately enjoy.
It was. I mean, that was the reason why I enjoyed that challenge or watching you do it is because it was like a group of 5 of us. Like that's when challenges are fun. Sometimes when like you go to a challenge alone and you're just like, hey, I'd like to do your food challenge. Like, okay. And you're like, all right, I just ate a 6-pound burrito for casual sport. But like when you go, it's kind of like you go to the casino alone and you feel like a degenerate and you're like, oh, fuck, man, I'm gambling all alone. I haven't. Yeah, you get like 6 people to go to the casino. You're like, yeah, man, this is a great time. Like I lost $400, but it wasn't as bad. I got friends here.
It's funny you mentioned that because I remember when I used to film a lot of my solo buffet videos, I felt like that. I was like, man, what am I doing with my life? Eating at a Shoney's by myself. There's all these 80-year-olds in there and just me in there filming videos.
Some people go to church. We go to buffets. We're like, man, what the fuck are we doing with our lives here? I'm eating my 4th plate of Golden Corral instant powdered mashed potatoes. Your life starts to make sense.
Now, just based off of that intro there, I think we have a lot of similarities in that we started out the food challenges and then we kind of got introduced to the contest eating, and that kind of took off for us. For you, it seemed like you had a pretty long food challenge period because you said you started in 2016.
Yeah.
And if I recall correctly, the first time I remember hearing about you on the Major League Eating circles in 2019, if I recall correctly.
I think it was 2019. It was the Vegas qualifier here against Max Suzuki. Talk about fucking getting rocked on your first, like you know, these NFL guys talk about their welcome to the league moment, and like, you know, you do food challenges, and a lot of these guys go, "Oh, I got 100 wins and 2 losses," right? And they think that they're like up here, and then you go against like a Suzuki, a Breeden, Joey, an Esper, a Webby, and you're like, all right, realistically, I'm somewhere down here. Like, right, there is a whole level of like people that are just different caliber, right? Like,
you can take me off that list though.
Not well now I'm retired, but I mean, you're like Mr. Miyagi back in the day. You were throwing some wax ons and wax offs, and just.
What made you make that jump to contest eating? What was the driving force behind that for you?
Well, I think you know me well enough where some of the fans might not know, because the whole point of this is to like be a little more real and raw, like we discussed. It's the ADD. I got bored doing challenges because it's like I look like eaters like Bob, and I look at some of these, like even you, like even though you won't admit it, but like Molly and all the greats of the sport, like for Molly to truly get pushed, what are you looking at? 20, 21 pounds of food, 18 pounds of food? And how many of those challenges are out there, right? Like, so like for me, it came to contest because it was like, okay, it's not a level playing field because like Joey and Esper and Webby and, you know, they can fucking kick ass, right? And I get my ass whooped habitually. But like to go to a challenge, it just got boring because it was like, oh, it's a 3-pound hamburger. I ate one of these last week. And then home challenges, I had a lot of fun with home challenges, but like they just got boring after a while too because it was so tough to execute. Like I did a 4-pound biscuit. I made a 4-pound biscuit on National Biscuit Day. I made like a fucking 10-layer funfetti cake. And I'm like, it was fun, but like, I don't know. It was just like the competition, like you've said, it's just a different vibe. And I think when people get on the stage, like I've talked with Freak Eating, he's like, I didn't realize this is what MLE was more like. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's tough, but it's not.
Honestly, I can relate a lot to your response. And, you know, I never really thought of it that way, but in a sense, I think maybe the same thing happened because I said, you know, people egged me on to go ahead and compete. But I think deep down, I kind of knew, you know, the food challenge thing was kind of, you know, at that point, I had done like, you know, 40, 50 food challenges, whatever it may have been. And at that point, I think I just wanted something new. And like you said, you know, what else is there to do then, you know, go out there and compete with the top, like best of the best.
No, I mean, and to people that do just strictly food challenges, like that's great. Like that's one thing I think sometimes gets lost is there's different strokes for different folks. Like I know there's a lot of anti-MLE sentiments, and it's like, okay, well, you don't have to bash my lifestyle. I don't care. I do both. It's what do you have fun with, right? Like
100%.
Someone was like I was talking to my dad, and he was like, you travel to the most dangerous cities in the world. You ate a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts while trying to run on a treadmill. He's like, are you just like trying to like fuck your life up? And I'm like, no, man, just seeing what we can do, you know? Like we're going to New Orleans. And he's like, that's one of the like worst cities in this country. I'm like, it's got good food though. It's got a 2-foot slice of pizza, man. Come on.
I can totally relate there because I've definitely been to quite a few shady establishments just to get some footage, you know, some place I had no business being, Skid Row being one of them. But that actually ties into a question I had for you, so this works perfectly, really. So what would be your best competing, you know, road story, so to speak? Because I know we have plenty of them, I mean, especially after you've been competing for so long now.
I mean, like that's a tough question, like you said. Because there's like been ones like where you and I at Gyoza where you like took a nap and I'm like, we're never seeing Darren again. And then randomly you appeared at the like ramen shop. And I'm like, man, that's an elite level performance. But honestly, one of my favorite stories from the road was like Coney 2 years ago. I don't think you were at that one. Were you? Maybe you were. I can't remember. But like we all went out drinking, like it was the after party, and we had gone to like from the Gaff, which is our usual Coney after party. We go to the Gaff, whatever. And then we had ended up at some karaoke bar at a Korean nightclub thing. And it was like all you could drink, and they kept bringing bottles and beer, and they were just like floored at the amount that we could drink. Like they brought in like 2 beers of each flavor and a bottle of vodka. Before the guy leaves the room, they're all like gone, right? And he's like, oh shit. Like he comes back and then eventually he starts bringing cases like, and then like Badlands is singing Gangster's Paradise. And I literally have never been closer to like God in my life. Like the amount of passion that Badlands was singing karaoke for was amazing. So then after that, I think it was Crazy Legs goes, oh, I know a bar that's open. Because it's like 3:30 in the morning, 4 in the morning. It's tough to find spots. We end up like some back bar thing. And I'm like, listen, man, we're all going back to the hotel. Are you able to like sell beers? It's like, well, I can't sell you like beers. Like I can sell them, but like what you can't take. Bro, I must have bought like a full rack of like Modelo's. Like I bought like 18 of them. And we all get hammered and we like sneak them back, whatever. And we end up in Pablo's Martinez's room at 5:30 in the morning. And it is louder than hell. Like we're all screaming, like Badlands, like, what's up? Let's go. Like everyone's just, there's a knock at the door and the guy's like, and he's like, Pablo opens the door. He goes, how may I help you? And the guy goes, yeah, we've had complaints about the noise in this room. And we're like, Pablo's like, turns around. Pablo's literally like, I don't think it's our room. Are you sure you have the right room? And he's like, sir, we've gotten noise complaints from left to the right, above and below. We know it's you. We just need you guys to calm down. And I'm like, all right, maybe it's time to go to bed. So no, that was probably like one of the wildest ones. It's just like the day of Coney, I started at 5 in the morning and I didn't get into bed until like 9 the next day. Like,
wow.
It was
but
just.
Then again, that's like every Nathan's, except for the one funky, the COVID Conies where they only have 5 of us compete.
Yeah.
But yeah, every Coney, there's some kind of epic story for sure.
And like I literally want to know what these Uber drivers think when they pick up like 8 of us at 3 in the morning and everyone's just like full of hot dogs and like, you know, there's got to be like a Bruno Mars album in there somewhere, hot dogs and hand grenades or some shit.
I just have a feeling for these cab drivers, this is their equivalent of the purge, except the purge only applies to the eaters. And we're allowed to do whatever we want in the taxi cabs.
My other story that I will say from the road is like, it was my first Coney, and I think you were there on the subway. We rode the subway home afterwards. Mm-hmm. And so there's like 8 eaters on the subway. And, you know, when you live in Wisconsin like I did, you always hear like, oh, the subway's in New York. It's the goofiest, strangest thing. We got to a stop. And like 9 people got off the subway and went to the car behind us to avoid us. And I'm like, yes, we are the weirdos on the New York subway. We are getting New Yorkers to leave us alone. We've made it. We think
we're being weird, but it's just the hot dog water smell probably. That's what I'm guessing.
All I smell is nitrates and Kool-Aid.
That sounds about right. Oh, man. But I have another question for you. This kind of is more of a controversial question, so to speak, because I know with you, it took you a while to get up into that top 10 ranking, which I think you fully deserve, you know, considering you've won a title, you've proven yourself with your numbers, your Coney performances, everything adds up to put you into that top 10 rank. But as we all know, our favorite site, Eat Feats, which is, for you folks that are unaware, this is a database with all competitive eating results from all contests, including independent and major league eating contests. And it also allows for people to anonymously comment on these contest postings and whatnot. And I know you've caught a lot of flack from a lot of the folks on there, maybe on social media, about your current ranking as the number 8 eater. And how do you feel about your ranking, and how do you feel about those comments and whatnot?
I mean, the comment thing to me is like, it was like even going back to like when I was fat and stuff like that. Like people say I'm fat now because I gained weight during COVID and battling depression with putting my mom in a memory care home. They don't ask how you are, right? They just, oh, it's got to be competitive eating. Oh no, it's not.
We're eaters.
It's not this. It's not that, right? It's all this kind of stuff. It's not that I have a thyroid disorder. No, it's just competitive eating that I do once every few weeks, right? You know, my thing is a lot of these like people, they don't do anything. Like, if you don't like my ranking, come challenge me. And I like the way MLE kind of phrased it to us, was like, if you're not happy with your ranking, come show us we're wrong on the contest table. So, I definitely think, like, I look at Pat Bertoletti and he's ranked right below me, I believe. Like, Pat could take me in most contests, but at the end of the day, there might be a couple that I can beat him at. So it's like where I think ranking anything innately is like tough, right? So we just had the college football playoffs. I don't know if you follow that in depth, but like Florida State was undefeated. Because their quarterback got hurt, they got left out of the college football playoff. There's nothing else they could have done in terms of winning games, winning contests, right? Like you look at MLE rankings. Esper wins the most contests of any year, but he's not like, what's it going to take for Esper to get to number one? That's a question I have for you. Is it win Nathan's? If he does that, that's it, right? That's the only thing left, right? So with that being said, like with my ranking, it's like, I know there's a lot of independents that could come in and kick my ass too. Like it's all that kind of like, what are you competing in? What are you doing? I'm not going to say it's like a shell game, but it's like some of these people in Vegas. I'm the best slot machine player in the world. In a game full of chance, you're the best in the world. Now, this takes a lot more skill and competitive eating and whatnot, but I'm like, it's like there's always asterisks in everything. You know what I'm saying? What was the weather like? Were numbers down this year for eaters at Nathan's because we were told we weren't eating, that kind of shit. It's all, I will say that I've worked hard. I sometimes feel like I'm ranked where I need to be. And there's other times where I'm like, maybe I should be a little bit lower, but then like I've consistently gone out and competed in contests where a lot of people, and Magic Mitch phrased this to me one time, like I think 3 years ago. If you only eat in 2 contests a year, right? You only do 2 contests a year. You eat at your local donut contest on National Donut Day, and you eat on a 4th of July hot dog contest. Are you really a competitive eater? Like, what do you need to do to consider yourself a competitive eater? Because Magic Mitch doesn't consider himself a competitive eater. He's a food adventurer. Which then, what does that take to be a food adventurer? I mean, it's like
exactly.
It's like
Star Wars, really, because I know there's a whole spiel on what is a professional eater too. So,
I mean, there's been a lot of times where they, like Raina said, she's not a professional eater. I'm like, what's your sole source of income? Well, I'm a YouTuber.
Exactly.
Doing what? Professional.
By that definition, no offense, neither one of us would be considered professional eaters either. So, unless you're making a lot more than you're, putting out to be.
Yeah, no, it's I'm right there with you. It's kind of like Star Wars. It started off as like very like small, and there was 3 great things, and now it's evolved in this universe where the other day I was just looking randomly at food challenges, right? It was 2 dudes at a gym eating Play-Doh, and they're like food challenge. And I'm like, well, that is a challenging food to eat, Play-Doh. I will give them that, but I don't necessarily think that harkens up food challenges. But that's
the Tide Pod Challenge 2.0 now.
But at least I'm honest, man. Unlike half these people out here.
That's one thing that I respect about you a lot for sure. You're definitely an honest man, which is why I want the honesty behind this question here.
Oh, God. You make me nervous, kid.
Okay, I won't mention any specific challenges or, any other eaters' names. But we've all had those situations. I've had them myself where we've done a team challenge and we've had to kind of carry the team, Sometimes, it's okay. Like when I do a food challenge with my dad or a subscriber, I don't expect them to, eat at the level that an eater would. So I, expected to take on the burden of the challenge,
Yeah.
But I'm talking a situation maybe where we record, or it's even worse than when they reach out to you to do a challenge and then they don't really do their share of the challenge and you kind of have to pick it up for them. So could you tell me if you've ever experienced this yourself? And if you want to refer to any specific instances where this may have occurred?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of challenges with Blaine, and I'm not going to blame him because he follows under your like dad's thing. Like Blaine did a lot of challenges, and he did a good job, but he's a lot like you where he thinks he's like fucking terrible at it. And I'm like, Blaine, you weren't bad at it, right? Like you completed a lot of these challenges. But I always know going to a challenge with him, as soon as he gets to a spot that he doesn't like, he's done. And you just have to know that, right? But no, when we did that big 25-pound burger in Memphis, I caught a lot of heat because, like, people were like, well, you had a shitty team. And I'm like, well, then come join me, right? Like, I'll right now, open invitation for any of the 7 people that watch this video. Like, hey, you want to go do that? I would love to go try to nail the King Canuck again, right? Or the Kooky Canuck. But it was tough because the first time we were so close, which is funny because we actually would have been the only team to finish with a female and the only team that would have started with 3 people because Blaine was so drunk we didn't start with him. He was at the bar, and I was like one of my pet peeves is how long some people take to set up, and I know you've dealt with that, but like I'm like very much like let's eat it before it gets too cold. So Blaine was at the bar talking it up. He's like, let's go. I mean, he drank like it was his first time drinking in like 6 months. And he drank like a whole, like not a shooter like that, but like, I don't know, like a 500 milliliter bottle of vodka. And then we did like a 6-mile run with Brett Healey. So he's fucking hammered. And so we started without him, but then we did really good on that time. But then the next time, and again, you're like saying, you know, have you ever felt like let down or whatever? It was like the strategy between Cody and I were like very different, where I'm like Cherish is like going to eat the least. And there's nothing wrong with that. So we need to keep her, in my opinion, eating the food she likes the most, the longest, because at the end of the day, me being like in that group, the most seasoned eater, I have to eat the worst thing, which is the giant hubcap, like monster truck tire bun. And that's what I've done each time. I've gotten the hot water. I've dunked it. I've gotten beef broth. Like I've been all in. But like Cody's like, Cherish, eat this dry bun. And I'm like, and it slowed us down. And then it got different momentum. So it was like, I wanted more from that team. But now I'm like, I don't really want to do it a third time with that team. And it's nothing against them. I love Cody. Like Cody and I and Blaine and I think Natter all went out for beers afterwards and things like that. But it's just like, sometimes you gamble kind of like with your 109-pound burger. You guys didn't have room to have someone who can only eat 3 pounds on a team when everyone's supposed to eat 10, because now you're supposed to make up your 10 pounds plus another 7 between 9 people. When you get to that level of capacity, how is it digesting, right? All that shit. So
exactly. And it's funny that you bring that because honestly, I could probably do a whole episode just on that challenge alone. But
I think we should.
Honestly, you're a bigger man than me to be able to look at it from that perspective without any type of resentment, you know. I think that takes a bigger man for sure. And maybe, you know, the expectations are a little different too. Because I know, like you said, you know, going into this challenge, you know, everyone had realistic expectations of what they were capable of. And you guys had a more solid game plan going in. Because I know, with that big 109-pound burger, I was definitely disappointed in some of the people that participated. And I was not so happy afterwards. I was definitely not as forgiving.
Well, it really shows you sometimes like social loafing theory, right? Like we learned about that in school where if you have a group project, right, it's like the old meme, the guy who does nothing and still gets the A. And it's like a lot of people just back off, right? Like I did a pizza challenge in LA, and this would be my second experience with it. It was a 55-pound pizza. It was at that Big Mama's, Big Papa's place that you and I did that challenge with before we bottomed out. Lesko's fucking bottomed her old boyfriend's car out, like with 9 of us in a fucking Hyundai Elantra. Like
that's right. I forgot about that. We totally did.
Dude, Sugar driving with his knees around his knees. Oh my god, that was. But no, we did their 55-pound pizza. We tried to. And like one of the guys is like, I was good for 6 pounds. I don't think he ate 3 pounds. And he starts busting out his camera at like the 30-minute point. And I'm dying because like I had eaten like a square, like my corner was trying to go in there. And he busts out a case like, I'm going live. I'm like, no, you're going to eat. And then he like starts asking questions. And I'm like, I'll answer the question once you finish the slice of pizza. Like you haven't finished a slice here. And we're only 20 minutes in. Like, you should not be tapping, especially when you've told me you got 6 pounds in you, right? Like, I don't know. I
definitely run into those type of situations as well where, you know,
the more seasoned I get, the more I don't want to do team challenges and the more I don't want to collab with people, because my experiences in collabs have been awful. And I'll take ownership that it's like, I'm a person, you know how I am. Like, I'll take fault. So at some point, something was my fault. I know I can rub people the wrong way because I'm very energetic. And if you're not, then we're going to clash, right? Like, it's just different personalities is what it is. But, like, I don't like to collab anymore because every collab I've done, I've been like, it sucks. It's boring. Right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I know you've had a lot better collabs, but like most of my collabs I like look back on, I'm like, I get asked to do collabs from people. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm good. Like, it's not fun for me. And I don't want to do shit that I'm not going to have fun with. You know what I mean? Like,
at a certain point, the novelty of it, wears off. And then after all, you just get jaded from just like the same stuff over and over and over again. And you kind of, don't want to deal with it anymore.
Like, this is
where a lot easier just doing it yourself. You can just, call the restaurant up, set it, you don't have to line up schedules with everyone, none of this nonsense, and just hope that your teammate shows up. You don't have to worry about all that. So I understand. Yeah, I totally get that.
I mean, I like collabing with Natter because he comes out here a lot, and he has an easygoing style, and he'll be there. And we have a similar approach to the content we want to make, where like they say it's 9 pounds. I don't think they've ever been able to hit 9 pounds on the scale. Because when Brandon Clark did his, it came out at 13. It was that giant-ass quesadilla that you've seen a million times, right? It's never come out less than 10. But I'm too dumb to tell people, like, it weighed more. If the restaurant says 9, I just am like, it's 9, right? Like, I don't care. And that's where, like, a lot of times I look back where I've been dumb and I should have bought into more of the bullshit marketing, but I'm like, hey, they tell me 9, whatever. It's not where it's like, oh, but like Brandon weighed it and his was 13. And I'm like, holy fuck.
That's 13. A big discrepancy. Because I can understand, if you're off by like a pound or so, pound give or take, but that's a 4 pound difference. And, once again, 4 pounds is a huge difference. That's enough to be, warrant some smaller challenges.
100%. Now, where I'm going with this is like, you had a great capacity. You're huge. Like, my capacity isn't bad, but I wouldn't say, like, I'm known for my capacity. I have a balance of speed and capacity, whatever, blah, blah. We both know when you eat at the top level of your capacity, you're going to feel like shit more. Like, if you eat a 4 pound challenge, you're fine. But the higher you go in that capacity, the more it's going to hurt, right? Exactly. And I understand 100%. And I know we all need money. Like, I'm not debating that. We all need cash. But, like, with that challenge of the quesadilla, I had another eater, and I'm like, dude, like, let's just do the team challenge, not ruin our days, and each make $500, and it's still a good payday. No, let's both solo it. And I'm like, well, I can't make it at that time. And I soloed it, and I fucking died. Like, Brandy had to drive home, right? And it was brutal. That guy ended up failing it and leaving 3 pounds. And I was kind of, like, laughing in a way because I'm like, don't you wish you would have done it halfway and we could have both made $500? Like, sorry, man. Like, but I think that's a lesson too for like newer eaters when they discover like pound capacity. Like when Brandy and I first started dating, she's like, I've seen you eat 5 pounds of like wings before. You could eat 5 pounds of this. I'm like, dude, 5 pounds is not 5 pounds. It's like 5 pounds of feathers and 5 pounds of bricks. Yeah, they weigh the same, but that volume is a lot different in how it hits, right? Like, I don't want to eat 5 pounds of salad. I'll eat 5 pounds of fucking corn dogs, but 5 pounds of salad sounds miserable.
Yeah, exactly. I hear you on that. It is totally different for different types of foods. I agree with 100%. Like, I could eat, however many oysters I ate, but when it comes to, something like sloppers, I can't eat, maybe even half the amount of the total weight of oysters and sloppers, no way. 100%. So I 100% agree with you there.
It's like yogurt. How much yogurt could you polish off, right? Like, it goes down smooth. It goes down easy. But like Jell-O and yogurt. Oh, well, it's more liquid. Okay, so you're admitting right there that, but it was just like funny because they're like, well, I can eat 8 pounds. Yeah, I've seen you eat 8 pounds. This is also a heavy-ass 8-9 pounds with 5 pounds of meat. Like, 5 pounds of meat challenges are sometimes tougher, like a challenge in itself, right? Like this quesadilla had 5 pounds of 5 different meats, 2 pounds of cheese. Like, that's a fucking tough challenge.
The amount of grease, too, don't help.
Oh, 100%. And then when it solidifies, it's like a brick. It's like watching Home Alone. It's just a brick hitting you in the face like Marv. Like, you're just fucked.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I always hated those gigantic patty, like the Burger Towns with the gigantic patties, because it's basically a super nasty, disgusting, congealed meatloaf,
That's why that's why you'd like Kooky Canuck. Because, like, that meatloaf, they cook it in the oven. So they'll cook it on, like, a big grill, and then they finish it off in the oven. There's a meatloaf.
So they actually cook it on a grill then?
They cook it on a grill and just keep flipping it and flipping it. So it's like a good burger.
It's like a pizza.
Yeah.
Pan to flip it.
It's like just huge, right?
Yeah. Now, this kind of ties into what we're talking about here.
All right.
But once you made that transition, into the professional eating scene.
Yeah.
Did it meet up to your expectations, or did it exceed it? Like, what surprised you, and like, what were some of the things that kind of went along with your expectations, and what were some things that completely took you back?
I think what took me back at first was like, and this is like been for a while. Like, I finally will admit it, but like, I thought that like we were all kind of like superheroes, that we shared this gift, and we were all kind of friends. And, like, I went in there, like, being super friendly to everyone, and I actually wish I wasn't. And I wish I would have just done my own thing. Because it's like, you get to that level, and, like, some people are doing this for a paycheck, some people are doing this for fame, and some people are just doing it because they're like me and they're fucking have a weight problem and whatnot, and to each their own. But, like, I feel like, I wasn't expecting it to be as nitpicky and like venomous as it is sometimes. I expected a lot more camaraderie because like I hear the stories and I hear things about the old days, and it's not that, right? Like, yeah, I mean, we went to Tamales, and it's like it was like Lesko and I hanging out, and there was no one else that stayed. And I understand we all have different needs, but like in the first couple of years, it was more people stayed around. And like Gioiza, a couple of years ago, we all got a house, like, and everyone stayed together and we had a good time. And it's just not like that anymore. You know what I mean? And that's more what I expected from it, is like, oh, cool, we're going to kind of be like friends. Like, you look at other professional sports and like, yeah, not everyone's friends with everyone, but like a lot of those people like stay in touch. And I'm not saying you and I don't stay in touch and other people don't stay in touch, but it's just like, I thought it'd be a lot bigger of a group than it really is.
And that is true. I mean, I know going into it, honestly, I saw a lot more of that camaraderie when I first joined MLE. But, by the time I left, a lot of that, like you said, has died off. And it's become a lot more cliquey. I don't know if you would agree with me on that, but you definitely have your cliques in the eating scene for sure.
No, I agree there's cliques. And it's not just that, but like a lot of the stuff I don't align with, like I'm just like, who gives a shit, right? Like, it's like I get it. They got to do stuff for social media sometimes, but I'm like, dude, like some of this shit, like you said, is just so petty. I'm like, I don't even care. Like, I'm just here to eat a burger, right? Like, I don't know. It's interesting. I agree with you though. It's like there are some definite cliques and stuff like that, and it's just like, whatever, man. I do my own thing. I've always done that, right? Like, that's where people are like, oh, you're Heavy D, that's a rapper and blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I got the name because I used to be overweight and I used to sing and be involved in music and all this stuff. Like, that's where the name comes from. Like, I get it. It's kind of a ripoff, but it's like, I've always kind of just done my own thing. You know what I mean?
I hear you on that, for sure. Since you asked me this question last time, and I've been wanting to know this, I know we've actually talked about this. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I want to know, just for the sake of this video and for our viewers, who you would consider your comp eating rival.
Brett Healey. It was always Brett, and then as he retired and was getting out, it's kind of become Bartley, but Bartley would never know that. And Bartley's the one where it's like we came in at roughly the same time. We've done things completely different. I train under you, Mr. Miyagi. He trains under Cobra Kai, Nick Wary. It's like our two battles and whatnot. But it's like, no, it was Brett, because, you know, it was like I couldn't beat him. We would do YouTube challenges together and he'd always fucking beat me. And he's like such a good technical eater. And this is like where I started to turn the corner. You're like, you know, your journey took longer. It's because, yeah, when I started, my dad's like, well, you should eat like Joey. Like Joey does this. And then like now I look back and I'm like, well, Joey does that. I'm not at that fucking level to shove 3 hot dogs down my face, blink twice, and have them disappear like David Copperfield, right? Like, but it was like I didn't eat like how I eat, right? Which, you know, is a little bit differently. Like I'm more of like a street fighter, like a Kimbo Slice, where Brett Healey's kind of and he's like dancing around, and then he like jukes and jives and whatnot, where I'm like Derek Lewis, like my balls was hot. That's why I wear shorts. Like I'm sweating, man. Like it was like they used to give me shit. Why do you wear armbands? I'm like, do you not watch any competitive sports? Like, do you think the cornerback for the Packers needs an arm sleeve to play football in the NFL? No, he's just wearing exactly, right? Just being goofy. Like, dude, like they always laugh because they call it the NFL the no fun league. And I'm like, that's how Major League Eating is. Not the actual event, but like some of these fans, like he wore a goofy arm sleeve. And I'm like no, Brett, I always looked at as like my rival. And on those days I didn't want to do something, I would like push myself, because I'm like, dude, if you're not going to catch Brett by not doing something, right? You're not going to, and it's kind of like on some of those dark days when you don't want to do stuff and you're debating stuff. And, you know, here's the crazy thing about me. Every time that I'm supposed to like competitively eat for a day, like I'm going to do a hot dog run, I'm going to do a challenge, I never want to do it that day. But yet 2 days before, I am fighting the fat kid demons because I want to eat everything in the house. Like, it makes no sense. Like, Brandy laughs. She's like, oh, it's 2 days before a challenge. You must be just wanting to eat everything. I'm like, you're not wrong. Day of a challenge, I'm not hungry at all.
I hear you on that. I mean, honestly, I could probably say, you know, I was probably the same way too, especially leading up to Nathan's or something like that, where I've been prepping for a long time and my diet would be on point, just training nonstop. And, you know, towards the end, it gets kind of unhealthy. It's almost like with bodybuilding, you know, when they're trying to cut down for a show, you know, you get on that diet and you diet so hard that all you can think of is like food, and you get food obsessed. And I don't know about you, but I was the same way for Nathan's. You know, all I was doing was like training, you know, eating crappy salad and chicken breast all the time. And then, you know, it was driving me nuts. I was like, dude, I just want, you know, ribs. I want a nice
anything but hot dogs, right? Yeah, exactly. No, 100%. No, I tell people that because, like, they're like, well, how, like, you know, obviously some people like bring it back. Some people like keep it like me and like a little bit of both and whatnot. And it's like, well, how do you like, you know, how do we not gain weight? Well, most of us do. We fluctuate. And that's what I think a lot of people don't get is like you just said, you eat a lot of salads and chicken breast. Like when I'm in contest season like that, like heading into Coney, I'm eating like hot dogs maybe once or twice a week. And then the rest of the day, like I've pretty much stripped out my fucking car to where I have a steering wheel, a seat, an engine, and a gas tank. Like there is nothing. On the off days, it's like chicken and protein shakes, right? Like as lean as I can make it, you know what I mean? Like, is it healthy? No, but I did think of you the other day. I saw a picture of LeBron James' toes. And like, here would be like the foot, right? And like his big toe is over his index toe. And it's like this. It's like what your foot looks like after you. Dude, like my teeth suck now because of competitive eating and all this shit. But it's like, that's like the cost of doing business in anything nowadays. You look at Ronnie Coleman. I watched the documentary and they're like, Ronnie, would you do it again? Oh, yeah, buddy. I'll be out there tomorrow. And they ask every other bodybuilder, like, absolutely fucking not. I would never do that. And there you go. That's why he won 8 and they never won any.
I bet you we could ask the same question to Joey, Jeff, all of them. They say the same thing. Shoot, I mean, in the last interview, I said the same thing, you know. I like you said, you know, you got some damage on the teeth, and I ended up with a little bit of an ulcer on my esophagus. If I had to do it all over again, I would absolutely do the same exact way, man.
100%. And I know we got to wrap up here. We're trying to keep this to 30 minutes for y'all. Like you said, like Joey and Jeff, I bet would say the same things. Everyone kind of has that, unique journey. And I think that's one thing that sometimes I think is like that changing the guard, like we were talking about. Is like, I don't think these people like to eat like you and I do. Like, we're former fat kids that like to eat, right? Like, my best friend in high school on his 17th.
Not so much former for me anymore, but
hey, man, you got to put that on the Patreon page. We can't be having you showing gut for free here, baby. Come on, man.
True.
No, I mean, I think that's a thing that, like, you watch a lot of people eat nowadays on social media. They don't like to do it. You watch their faces where, like, people are like, oh, you go slow in challenges. Yeah, I'm actually enjoying the food. Now, go on the contest table, you got a different story, but, like, that's me enjoying the food, right? I saw something wild the other day where one of the social media eaters wouldn't even start eating until people donated $75. He wouldn't even start eating the challenge until they hit $75.
I guess he was trying to make sure you could cover the cost of the challenge before.
I don't know, man. But I think I was telling Brandy, I was like, yo, could you imagine if like LeBron James came out and he goes, yeah, I know the Lakers pay me and whatnot, but until you all in the stands donate me $5,000, I'm not playing basketball. I'm just going to sit right here on the court. I'm not playing. $5,000. So I just thought that was so wild, man.
Maybe that's what all the eaters need to do at Nathan's. You know, just boycott it, unionize.
Dude, I'm just gonna hold it. Dude, I mean, free Chase Bank. You know, 1, 2, 3, 104 or whatever. No, what I want to leave my episode with is one thing I've always appreciated about you. And there's very few people that can get me like Natter, Magic Mitch. A lot of the guys will tell you like I will like, you know, make a read and be like in my thought process and be like, oh, it's because of this or that. And one thing that's helped me become a better eater is you being like kind of like what you said about Joey and Jeff. Well, whatever it takes, right? And you got to do these things. And that's made me mentally tough or tougher. I'm not tough by any stretch of the meat. I'm 0-0 lifetime in fights. I just rely on like, let's have a beer and like, do we really need to fight? We're 35 years old, right? Like that conversation, you know what I'm saying? But like going through everything with my mom, it was kind of like you said, like, hey, you know, like I forget the exact words you said, but it's something to the effect of like, hey man, you got to do what you got to do. Like something along that line, right? When I was like, man, I couldn't believe that this eater would put a weight belt on to drink water. And you're like, hey man, like if it works, right? And I'm just like, I never think about things that way. And I think that's one thing you've like helped me with in the past year is like just thinking differently overall of like not even about competitive eating, but just like, hey man, we're all kind of going through our own stuff. We're all kind of jacked up in our own ways. And like, I think if people just realize that, we'd all be in a much better place in the competitive eating community and probably the world. Like we all got shit going on. You know what I mean? Like, do you really need to take a pock shot at someone because they couldn't finish a burrito in 15 minutes? Like, probably not.
Exactly.
But you got any other questions for me?
I do have a few other, but I want to stay true to the 30-minute time limit. And some of these questions I'm sure we can save for future episodes as well.
No, 100%.
We don't want to, you know, put all my eggs in one basket, you know, so.
No, 100%. No, I think it'd be fun to do like a deep dive on that 109-pound burger because I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. I think actually it would be a great episode to discuss your challenge and then who realistically now we could put on a team. Like I'll take the lead and then like who can we put on there? Like
maybe we can make this come to fruition.
Yeah. But I'm just saying
there's enough new generation talent so you guys can pull it off.
I'm saying, who could you put together on a squad to get that going?
I would love to see you guys do that. I think that would be awesome.
If we did that, you could like come out and fucking live stream it for the video. Be like,
I would definitely go out there 100%. I mean, if you guys can get that together, let me know. I would be out there in a heartbeat.
I hope you announce it like Jerry the King Lawler or fucking JR. By God, they're at the Bun. It's a real slobber knocker out here, folks.
That'll be great.
No, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you doing this. We're going to keep these things rolling. We got guests coming on. I can't wait to grill Brett like a steak. I mean, we can't show him this
I wonder
video.
what kind of dirt we can even get from him, honestly. I mean,
the
guy's a cupcake. I mean, he's a literal cupcake. So, like, I can't find any flaw in him, you know?
He never the one thing I'll say about Brett that I'll end the episode with, giving a challenge, I guess, to the viewers at home. Very rarely have I ever, like, seen shit talked about him. I've seen shit talked about you.
Oh, yeah.
There's plenty of shit talked about me. But Brett, everyone's like, let him pass. Let him pass. We're going after the other two. Like, it's like he's in front. They're like, let him pass. The other two are in the back. The two we really hate are
because of his abs.
He's got the meaty lats, right?
I know.
Well, thank you all for tuning in to episode 2. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We have a lot of fun between the buns talking about the future, former, and previous current states of competitive eating and fun challenges. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you on the next video. Peace.
Deuces.